Alright, this is blog post number 3, and today's topic of discussion is net neutrality. So, what is net neutrality? So, net neutrality is the belief that every single website you visit, every single place you go on the internet, should be the same speed. It shouldn't be throttled or slowed down based on how prevalent these the websites you visit. So, for example, YouTube would probably have pretty good connection because Google has lots of money to pay the internet service providers who want to throttle certain websites' connections. And so if you want to go to a smaller website or blog, then the website will probably be slower, throttled. And for a lot of people, this is not something they want. So back when net neutrality was being imposed a couple years ago, everyone was freaking out. Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, you name it. No one wanted net neutrality. No one wanted to end net neutrality. And so Ajit Pai, the chairman of the FCC, who wanted to end net neutrality, became one of the most hated men on the internet. He was just joking about net neutrality and how it's like, oh yeah, we don't need it, whatever, it's fine. We need to regulate things. We regulate everything else. Come on. But everyone else on the internet was like, no. These big companies too, like Google, Facebook, were like, hey, net neutrality, let's keep it. Come on. And so everyone was also writing their senators, their congressmen, actually writing them letters and saying, hey, let's not do this. Come on, this is a bad idea. This infringes on our freedoms. The internet should be a free place for everyone. And so, I guess the point now, it failed, so net neutrality will end, probably. And so this is kind of a scary time. We'll see how, these companies kind of regulate things. But if they were regulating, if it's going to be a nightmare situation where every website you visit might be fast, might be slow, you might have to pay for faster speeds, everyone's going to be against it for sure. It's not going to be as drastic as people think it's going to be, of course, because people freak out in the age of 2018. But anyhow, some current events. So if we lose net neutrality, the sports content providers, this is a big deal because Americans, we love sports, and so do I. And so if you could block certain sports events from, or slow down your connection if if you went to ESPN and your provider didn't like ESPN, then they could slow down the connection. Or if you went to a blog that had said negative things about a sports channel that they owned, then they could slow down the connection. And so this is a little bit too much power for these internet service providers who already have too much power as it is. They charge ridiculous rates sometimes, and they have really bad customer service. You'll have internet outages and etc. And they don't care because they're making a lot of money. And who to go to? There's 4 internet service providers. So, but I think this really matters because when these companies like Facebook, Google, Apple are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, if you will give them better connections than maybe newcomers to the market, then it's going to really stifle growth because these smaller companies aren't going to be able to expand and be as prevalent as they would if there was less regulations. For example, back in the early 2000s when these companies were getting bigger, there were no regulations. There were virtually none because there was a bipartisan government in the 90s from Bill Clinton who said, hey, let's not make these regulations. Let's make these things, let's have more growth. And it did. And so if you did do this, if net neutrality would end and make this happen, then you would see these companies getting bigger and bigger, and that's not something you want in this current age. And some more current events. So the guy behind net neutrality, the guy who said, hey, let's make everything neutral, he's saying they want to break up Facebook because they're getting too powerful, which is interesting because there are two sides of this. People who are okay with these monopolistic companies getting more and more powerful, and people who are not. And so it's interesting to see because these larger Amazon, Google, Facebook, they're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger as the years go on. So it's just interesting to see how a government is going to play in this. Anyhow, as you couldn't tell before, I'm very much against the ending of net neutrality. Alright, thank you very much. This is blog post number 3.